My name is Joyce Antabigna and I will be discussing about the Chinese art. By the way, what is Chinese art? Chinese art history encompasses all the visual arts originating in China and produced by the Chinese culture and artists. It is marked by many different types ranging from Neolithic pottery to calligraphy, painting, poetry, porcelain, bronze work, jade carving, and many others. It begins from the prehistoric age up to the present. Contemporary age, traditional Chinese art shares commonalities. However, it is also produced differently within each dynasty, which are key distinguishing periods making the progression of Chinese artwork. Type of Chinese art. Chinese painting are usually created on papers which could then be mounted on silk. There are different types of ways painting would be mounted. For example, scrolls from the form of hand or hanging scrolls, fans, leaves done as an album leaves, among others, and it will be discussed in the another slides. The four treasures in Chinese calligraphy. We have known the Chinese Wenfang Sibao on four treasures of the scholar's studio. This was important part of the Chinese painter and calligrapher's skills and toolsets. It consisted of papers, brushes, ink, and inkstone. It is said to have originated during 420 to 589 CE during the southern and northern dynasties. The inkstone is traditionally the Chinese stationery. It is the stone mortar for grinding and containment of ink. In addition to stone, inkstone are also manufactured from clay, bronze, iron, and porcelain. The device involved the rubbing tool used in the rubbing dies dating around 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. The brush comprises two parts, the head and the shaft. The head is made from the goat, wolf, rat, or rabbit hair, which is softened the bamboo, and pencil, quill, or ballpoint pen. The shaft is made from bamboo, wood, lacquer, porcelain, and as well as some precious materials, including mother of pearl, encased ivory, and jade. Ink. The Chinese name is the Pinyin Mo, or the ink cakes, are type of solid Chinese ink used traditionally in the several Chinese and East Asia art forms, such as calligraphy and brush painting. Ink are made in mainly of soot and animal glue, sometimes with insect or medicinal scent added. The swan paper. The practitioner of the Chinese calligraphy and painting traditional rice paper is also called the swan paper. It is preferred choice. The traditional process of making swan paper it is extremely demanded and involved more than 100 steps, from collecting, soaking, washing, fermenting, bleaching, and pulping the raw materials to screening, sunning, and cutting, the final stage. The types of the Chinese art. The first one is the hanging scroll painting. Hanging scroll were vertically in shape and supported by wooden roods and strips as weight of the painting of the hang on a cord or stay open. An example of hanging scrolls painting is the mountains landscape from the Ming Dynasty of Wang Xishang. It is 95.5 by 41 centimeters in size, depicting a mountainous landscape with various vegetation. The painting 11 Dragons in the 15th century by Sheng Rong in the Ming Dynasty period is another hand scroll which depicts 11 dragons along the 16-foot long scroll. The dragons are all depicted dynamically on mountain cliffs and cloud. The difference between the hanging scroll and a hand scroll. One views a hanging scroll by beginning at the bottom, moving one eye slowly toward the top. A hand scroll is designed to be viewed one only one or two people at a time is never seen at all at once. The hanging scroll provides an artist with vertically format to display an art on the wall. It is one of the most common types of scroll for Chinese painting and calligraphy. The hand scroll is a long, narrow horizontal scroll format in East Asia used in calligraphy or paintings. A hand scroll usually measure up to several meters in the length of around 25 to 40 centimeters in height. Hand scroll is generally viewed in the starting from the right end. The Chinese fan painting. Fans are usually made to be given as the gifts to be typically landscape painting is its subject matters. Example, other form of Chinese painting includes fans. For example, landscape in the style of Yan Wugyu in the 1707 century by Wang Hui, which was painted in the style of famous 10th century painter Yan Wungui, and depicts classically landscape as the subject matters. The Chinese fan symbolizes made of bird feathers. It was widely recognized as the symbol of the wealth, authority, and wisdom. During the Han Dynasty in 206 BCE to 220 CE, the fan became popular among common people as more affordable bamboo fans, and hand wooden cartel leaf fan were invented. The folding fan, or it called as ugi, is opposed to much older fix to the flat fan, oshiwa, is popularly thought to have originated in Japan around 670 AD, made of wooden or bamboo strips threaded together and secured by the rivet or pivot. Landscape painting. Example of landscape painting. From one to the famous artist Fan Quan was painted during the Song Dynasty of 960 to 1279 CE. Quan is well known as the landscape painter of the mountains and the natural environments that he was inevitably inspired by. In his work titled Troubled by Streams and Mountains to 1000 CE, there are elements and depicting the search for truth. The artist was also influenced by Neo-Sufism throughout the time, which reverbed a sense of truth that came from the natural work. A landscape painting is also known as landscape art. It is depictions of natural scenery such as mountains, valleys, trees, rivers, and forests, especially when the main subject is the wide view, with its elements arranged into a coherent composition. Appreciating Pathed Chrysanthemum in Tranquility, Ming Dynasty by Shen Shu. Another example is titled Appreciating Pathed Chrysanthemum in Tranquility by Ming Dynasty Art Zhenzu. This painting depicts a landscape with a gazebo standing on the far right to the horizontal composition. The next topic is about the Chinese pottery. Chinese pottery goes back all the way from prehistoric period when it was utilized in utilitarian purpose as well as brutal or burial purposes, as many have been excavated by the burial sites, known as also the coronary jars. Chinese pottery has been throughout the ages, developing into many different styles and forms in the traditional Chinese art. Neolithic pottery was also painted and decorating the carving bands on the pattern into form. The example of that is the blue and white porcelain jug, early 15th century. And the other one is blue and white porcelain dish in the form of lotus lily and a Sanskrit transcript. Chinese ceramic shows a continuous development since the pre-dynastic times and one of the most significant form of Chinese art and ceramic globally. The first pottery was made during the Paleolithic era. Chinese is famous for its beautiful, high-quality pottery, called porcelain or china. This is partly because of the huge amount of the clay and stone found in the china. Over the years, the Chinese developed a variety of ways in making the decorated pottery and became specialists on their crafts. The Terracotta Army Warriors. From the time of the first Chinese emperor during Qin Dynasty in 210 BCE, these figures were all varied in their size and stature. And there were also horses and an assortment of the figures like musicians and strongmen, which were believed to be entertainers of the warrior and the afterlife. Some of the more important figures like general were sculptured as taller and more other figures that were warriors. In other words, the size would indicate as the role. The discovery of Terracotta Army is important because of its information. It gives historians about daily life in the Chinese Qing Dynasty, and figures show armor and weapons that in the tomb contains and real artifacts such as cryots, weapons, potteries, and the other human remains and the workers who built it. The Terracotta Army was built by the subject of Qin Shi Huang, first emperor of the Qin Dynasty, and China's 2133-year imperial era. According to the records of the Grand Historian, Qin Shi Huang ordered construction of the mausoleum, and again he took the throne in the Qin Dynasty in 246 BCE. The Chinese ritual bronzes were made in the two parts of the gravers. There are significant collection of these bronzes, all made with incredible skills and craftsmanship. It is reported that during the Song Dynasty, bronzes were made in different reasons, such as vessels for water, wine, food, sacrifice, measurements, weapon containers, music instruments, and others. Sets and individual examples of ritual bronzes survive on its they are made mainly during the Chinese Bronze Age. The Bronze Age in China began around 2000 BCE, and the earliest excavated ritual bronze vessels date into 1600 BCE. Found in the tombs where the vessels are made to use in the rites performed on the ancestral altar or cast, especially on the burial with the dead. That's all. Thank you.